My name's Jane Wojick and I'm a potter. I make whatever I think of out of clay. I mostly wheel throw, but I also love to hand build. And I make functional pieces, and I also love to make sculpture when I have time to play around. Art hasn't always been a part of my life. As a matter of fact, when I was a child, I was convinced I wasn't an artist, but I've always worked with my hands. I was the kid in elementary school that was playing in the mud and just squishing things around. I sew, I do needlework, everything I do with my hands. And when my children were old enough to be in school full-time, I found myself a pottery class because I just had a feeling that clay was what I needed to do. And after the first class, I just never stopped. I couldn't stop because I really love making things out of clay. What I find most interesting about pottery is you can make almost anything you can dream of. You can paint on it if you're more of a 2D artist. You can sculpt with it. You can form it into symmetrical shapes. You can slap it off center and make it asymmetrical. For me, the most important part of working with pottery is how it encourages me to be creative, but also to not hold on to my perfectionism. I find I get really frustrated with many things if they're not perfect. But clay allows for variation in a way that you can make it work for you. And if you try to be perfect with clay, you will always fail. And so I've learned to be very persistent, very patient, but also accept the imperfections and actually figure out ways to make them part of my work that satisfy my need for it to be just so, but also just let the clay be what it wants to be. Most of what I do really does come from my own head, but I do look at a lot of art, I do experience a lot of art, but I don't feel like I've really tried to copy another artist in any way or reproduce another artist's work. I just look at techniques that they use and possible shapes that they use, but most of what I make really just comes from what happens when I sit down in my studio. The best part of being a Westwood artist is the surprise that people have when they say, "Where did you make this?" And I say, "I make it in my basement in Westwood." And then we started this group, the 5 of us started Westwood Artists because we felt like there is a creative flow in this town that people didn't know about. And when people are happy to see what we're doing and to know that we're here, it's very gratifying.